So today we would like to give you a sneak peek into the professional laundry conference, which has been scheduled for Interclean originally on yesterday actually. We will reschedule this to later this year. And today I would like to give you a little bit of an insight in all of the topics that will be addressed in much more detail on in November. So let's Yeah, there we go. So first, a few words. Like Rob just mentioned, we are an international umbrella organization for professional textile care. Our 100 plus members come from some 40 countries in total. And this industry in total has about 750,000 companies. Our main products are visualized on this sheet. We do annually about 10 to 15 research projects. We provide training for the staff inside the laundry. We organize a certification scheme based on ISO and EN 14065 hygiene standards. We run a awards program, sort of like the Grammys for professional laundries around the world, every 2 years. And we have a knowledge platform called Wobcom, where you can find 600 plus info articles on best practice in laundry. But that's just a quick introduction about CINET. We're talking about laundry today. So I'd like to tell you a story about laundry. You see here three types of machines, and the left machine we all know because 99% of households have this machine at home. This is where our focus is very much on the other two types of the laundry business, the professional machinery and the professional companies. So if we put laundry into perspective and from a historical perspective, it started with traditional laundry. Here you see some picture around the Second World War, where commercial laundries did a lot of the laundry from people at home. Then in the years of the following, the domestic washing machine came up, and the commercial laundries started focusing much more on B2B customer segments, industrializing the process. Then, a few years after that again, came the textile rental model, where the companies did not only wash the garments, but they also rented the textiles to the customers. And the logistic model was much more developed. So it started with traditionally laundries having about a 30-kilometer radius. This grew to 200, 250 kilometer, servicing customers all over the country. Then came and this is very much something of the last 5 years, where more and more international business partnerships have been set up, and this goes hand in hand with mergers. So companies applying economies of scale. And the last phase is something what we see currently developing, and we expect much more in the next coming years, is the total textile care concept, providing a peace of mind to the customer. So one total solution, which is being, let's say, a total solution where the end user is in control via just 3 swipes on the smartphone of the service. We'll go into all these topics in much more detail. So, if we look at this industry, the main market segments that there are hospitality, the HoReCa side, the trade and industry, so everybody that is walking around in workwear, the healthcare segment, the care homes, the hospitals, and we have a retail and fashion segment where the traditional dry cleaning side is mostly from. If we then look at the products that are being delivered there, we're talking about workwear on the one end. This is in the trade and industry, but also the uniforms in the hotel or the uniforms in the workers in the hospital. We have the linen and the flatwork, which is a major part of the commercial business, and the wash and fold and the delicates. And the wash and fold and the delicates, the dry cleaning items, they are part of the retail and fashion segment, but also in healthcare for elderly people in care homes. The wash and fold side is quite a business. Now, if we look at professional textile care in general, it's important to stress on these two different models. On the one hand, you have the laundries and the textile service providers offering a rental model. And on the other hand, there are customers that have their own goods, the customer-owned goods model. We'll go into that also in a bit more detail in the next slide. Here you see the basic service that's offered. So within a textile service model, where the textiles are owned by the professional laundry, the first step is to do a specification, the sourcing, so how much textile is needed, and this is all laid down in a contract. Then the service starts. So the laundries are nowadays taking care of the pickup, the sorting, the laundering, the finishing, inspection, and also the repair and substitute is part of the service. So it's sort of an all-inclusive model, providing complete peace of mind to the customer. So if we take a hotel or a hospital, there's no need to worry about linen stock anymore. This is completely arranged. Now, a standard contract in this way is also put in the sheet. This is based on a fixed amount of clean textiles, so many deliveries a week, so 1, 2, or every day. The delivery points are defined within the contract. So there are some, for instance, mobile linen service concepts where the textile service provider delivers the laundry all the way into the cupboard of the end user. And there is models where the container is just dropped at the front door of a hotel or a care home, and the institution takes care of it themselves. The price is based on the number of changes, so the number of actual changes that are executed, and usually the standard model has about 3-year contracts. This can be varying, of course, but the main outline looks like this. Now, to give you a little bit of a more visual insight in what the modern laundry looks like, we have this following example from Lips Plus. It's a large industrial laundry chain within the Netherlands and Belgium, and it's a customer-owned goods model. Yeah, please start.
Having started out in the internationally acclaimed Brainport region, you could say that innovation is in our DNA. Innovation to make people's lives better. In our case, the lives of our clients' clients, and our own staff, part of which is made up of people with a disadvantage on the job market. We'd like to introduce 3 of our most productive employees. After the initial container scan, the dirty laundry passes through Jackie. She knows throughout our unique SI tag what kind of attention different items require. Once the items are washed, the folded items pass through Albert. Albert sorts the folded items and gets them ready for the return journey. The hanging laundry passes through Alex. All 3 machines are equipped with scanners. They make sure no container leaves our facilities before every set of laundry is complete. Meanwhile, our clients can observe the status of their items anytime, anywhere. A highly innovative, ultra-high frequency RFID process that saves time, reduces mistakes to a bare minimum, and gives the opportunity to focus on caring for their residents.
So that's the first video. As you can see in the video, the process has been industrialized to a high extent. The RFID is already in development for the last year, and you also saw that the innovation award that this laundry won was already in 2016. So this is a constant concept that is currently constantly being developed, and it enables us to grow the professional textile care market. Now, if we then look at, this is a survey done in Germany, we look at the main advantages of a textile service model, so renting the textiles. The first and foremost argument is the focus on core activities. so giving the hotel or hospital complete peace of mind. And the second interesting part to highlight is the liquidity advantages, something that we've seen in the past. The hotels and the hospitals are much more enabled to put their investment in activities that are benefiting the actual guest or the actual patient, rather than having to invest in the linen. And the third part about the cost and benefit advantages, I will explain in the next sheet. This is a topic that we will address in much more detail during the actual conference. But the main point is that there are a lot of hidden costs in the laundry operation, and a lot of activities that you don't think of when starting to make the choice. So here you see all the costs that are included in the textile service model, and especially if you want to have a more sustainable operation, including the complete life cycle of the textiles. It's a point to consider at least. But as I said, if we want to address this topic in complete detail, I can spend another hour. So we will save that for the actual conference. Then next topic is to move further into the sustainability profile of professional textile care, the laundry side. We base this on a couple of general trends. The first of all, as everybody is aware of, we are heading into a climate crisis, or actually dealing with the climate crisis. And we like to use this concept of the country overshoot days to explain the topic briefly. It is an idea where it's measured every country, how much resources are they using and how much are they actually producing. So you see, for instance, in Qatar, on the 11th of February, they have already used more resources than the country is producing. For the States, it's something of it's 15 March. So you see, there is a much more bigger impact going on the planet, and this is one of the reasons why, of course, we need to improve the situation. Second aspect, so apart from second aspect is water, fresh water. Earth is running out of water. There are complete cities in the like Jakarta or Cape Town or London that are decreasing year by year for an X percentage because too much fresh water is being used. And the third aspect is the microplastics. As you have probably seen in the news, the oceans are dealing with a lot of microplastics and plastics in general. And the Plastic Soup Foundation came up with a research where the domestic washing machine is responsible for 35% of all microplastics in the ocean. Now, last year, we executed research gravely investigating the impact of professional textile care versus the domestic washing machine. And the result was that for each kilo washed, we can save 24% CO2 emission. We can save 35 to 80% liter water, fresh water. And the contribution to plastic soup is virtually zero in a professional laundry factory. So actually, this is the better way to organize laundry. Now, going into a little bit more detail, water is the easiest to explain. Here we have the various types of machinery that are being used, and we see that with the professional equipment like the tunnel washer, the average liter of water needed to clean 1 kilo of textiles is 7.4%. And some of the modern installations can even get lower. But to make an average comparison, it's safe to say that about 3,500 liters of fresh water can be saved for one inhabitant if we use more of the professional installations. Another interesting aspect in this way is a research done by the Technical University of Eindhoven in the Netherlands. Already in 2007, Mrs. van der Dorst promoted on this study, opting for a reintroduction of professional laundries in society. That is because the professional laundries wash with softened water, unlike the domestic machines that use a lot of phosphate content in the detergents. And besides that, she also confirms that the consumption of water and energy is much lower in the first professional establishment. To go into the CO2 aspect, we like to share with you the following case. As you may or may not know, within the agreement for the Paris Agreement, the Paris Climate Agreement, we've had a situation in the Netherlands where a Dutch organization called Urgenda has went to court and won twice already, where the Dutch state is forced, the government is forced to save another 25% of CO2 by 2020 to be in line with the Paris Climate Agreement. So what we did, or what our technical institution did, was to look at this climate agreement and see what is the ambition of the government to save CO2 in the various segments. And in the urban environment, we could contribute by 12% if we would switch from domestic washing to professional washing. So in total, we could save about 0.4 megatons of CO2 if we would convert to more professional washing. And then the third side, this is going into the plastics. So this is research done by the OSPAR Commission. They concluded that about 35% of all the microfibers come from domestic washing machine, and 0.1% of this is allocated to the professional laundries. This is because they are using much more filters, and currently it's also a very hot topic within the industry to go even further to completely take out all the microplastics. Running research. Now, what is also something that we made available in this way is an eco tool where our members can use this complete tool. It's been developed together with the Modint. This is a Dutch association for fashion and home textiles. And what the company can do is put for the entire life cycle, analyze what is their exact eco footprint. So going from the first fiber all the way to the recycling, all the steps can be entered the specific data for the company, calculating exactly CO2, water usage, etc. It's a way that enables the laundries as well as their customers to give an insight in what is my exact eco footprint and that they can use in the communication again. Now, then we go further into the future perspective of this industry. This is based on some reports. This is a scientific article, Trends in Laundry by 2030. Last year, an EY study was commissioned to look at the economic impact and the value of textile services. And this is based on our observations from the recent years. First of all, give you an insight in what the current market looks like. So here we have, this is based on our own marketing statistics as well as statistics from ISA. This is the Detergent Supplier Association, as most of you will probably know. About 5% of the total market is being washed by professional business at the moment. 95% of all kilos, and this refers to a European statistics, 95% is washed at home. So this includes all the kilos, private consumers, hotels, hospitals, care homes, and all the workwear. Then The forecasting for the laundry industry is quite positive. This is one research from Technavio, but there are numerous researches being done on this segment. A growth rate of some 4% is concluded, and we've seen this grow over the past couple of years. And between 2018 and 2023, a growth of $13.75 billion is expected. And all this research is more or less in the same line. Now, then of course, Corona came, and this has been a major impact on the industry. So for the healthcare side, we've seen, even though the frequency of some garments in the hospitals went up to washing, due to less regular care, the turnover is still going down about 15 to 20%. For hospitality, which is quite obvious, the turnover loss is about 80 to 100% during lockdown situation. There are estimations being made in hospitality industry that about 50% of turnover loss can be expected for 2020. This will be the same for the laundries working in that site. Then looking at the recovery scenario, the first step will be in individual and national tourism taking off. Group tourism is expected to recover much more lower. So until the end of 2021, the expectations are negative turnover. Then the trade and industry side, all the workwear. Here the turnover loss depends greatly on the segment we're talking about. So, for instance, if Volkswagen decides to close down their European factories, all the workwear that's being used there is from one day to the next not needed anymore. Same goes for aviation. So if KLM stops flying, it also don't need the textiles anymore, and directly these companies are hit. At the same time, the first responders is still going and even increasing a bit, of course. So depending on the how the crisis will impact in total, we expect the turnover loss to be 40 to 50% in this sector. And for retail, it's also expected around 50%. In the beginning, it was a little bit higher, and later on in the year, the expectations are to be a little bit less. And with everybody working from home, the people are dressing less formal, of course. Then what we did in the same way is to set up a protocol together with virologists, microbiologists, to make sure that the laundries can use a protocol that is corona-free, ensures corona-free washing. Now, this is also a quite detailed program. We've been doing webinars in the last couple of weeks that last for 2 hours to completely explain this whole protocol. You see here in the visualization a inventory of critical control points. Basically, what is done is you go through the whole process and indicate for each step what are the specific points to monitor to make sure that there is no cross contamination that can occur, and at the same time the protocol is described on how to get rid of the virus inside the textiles, resulting in measures like this. So this is one of our members from the Philippines that has made sure that employees can use this personal protective equipment. And if they also decided here to leave the laundry untouched for 5 days. That's the general direction. If you cannot use proper PPE, leave the laundry untouched for 5 days. Now, in this way, we see that there's a lot more attention going towards the hygiene side, and laundries are around the world are using this as a USP, describing what's the difference between optical clean washing and hygienical clean washing, and promoting this service to say that they can offer a hygienical clean a guaranteed hygienical clean laundry service. Another direction what we are seeing happening here is that the e-commerce business is doing quite well. So one of our speakers scheduled for the conference in November is the CEO from Wash Club, and they reported that their online business is growing 5 times bigger compared to normal situation. So this e-commerce direction is definitely something that could support the businesses to get through this time. At the same time, the commercial business has gone down, so it's not like they are benefiting from the corona crisis, but it's just a tool that can help them to recover some turnover. And it makes sense because TNO research concluded that e-commerce in these times provides the idea of safety for the customer, and customers, people in a crisis, they tend to change their buying behavior. If they can buy things, they feel in control. So there is a rise in this way. It's one of their conclusions. People spend money on their homes if they cannot spend it in the hospitality. So this is an opportunity for the businesses to offer the spring cleaning service. And we believe also that this 1.5 meter economy, which is currently being discussed a lot, will be one of the major topics to push the online business compared to the conventional business where people go into the laundry shops themselves. Now, this online business was already a segment that was expected to grow a lot. Here you see another research from CINET, where they expected this online market to grow to nearly $100,000 million by the end of 2024. And this is all based on numbers of new startups coming up, doing quite successful business, growing very fast. So this was already a major trend within the industry. Now the reason what's different, let's say, compared to some years before, is that these smart logistical solutions are opening up new markets. So what was missing is a sort of a technology to service these last mile customers in a cost-effective way. So here you see an example of laundrette, where the customer has an own app, the front end of the application. They put in what kind of order they want, and this is a situation where laundrette is serving private customers, but this just as easily happens in B2B environments. Then usually the end user is in control. So they put in their order, and there is sort of a brain, that's the laundrette pulse in the middle, that for every 15 seconds is automatically optimizing the operation. So it optimizes the internal logistics within the factory of the laundry, but also the fleet management, the logistics that are being executed on the road. And that's on the other hand where the driver app comes in. So every driver has one app that is showing them the location where to go to. And in the back, every 15 seconds, this route is being optimized based on the actual orders that are being processed at that moment. And that technology wasn't available before. So in the study of EY, we also analyzed what are the most promising new market segments to serve. And their conclusion was that elderly care, so the personal garments, especially for elderly care, the SME sector, so the small medium-sized businesses that have an interest to outsource their laundry business, their chores, but not as much to an interest to go for 3-year contracts. Interesting direction. The construction site, so people working in construction that are in location A on the one day and location B on the next, and the modern consumers that are also having busy lives. And what they all have in common is small order sizes. They have a need of a flexible service level, so being able to change the order from one day, a couple hours in advance. And it all needs to be automated. So the administration and the logistic side of it needs to be automated without human interference. Now, and to conclude this, I'd like to show you this example of one of those startups that's offering washing linen, but also the dry cleaning for SME and bed and breakfast owners. They have an interesting collaboration with Airbnb in this way as well. Yes, so that concludes the presentation. This was just an overview and a sneak peek into the content that we will deliver scheduled for the 4th of November. Today I did the introduction, but at the conference we will have much more industry veterans joining us as well, going into the business model, going into the technical side of the operation, and we have some very interesting speakers from different countries talking about this new business models in reality. So that concludes the presentation. I already saw some interesting questions coming in, so look forward to discuss.
Thank you, Leon, for your presentation. Due to the time, unfortunately, we cannot answer all the questions, but of course we have collected all the questions in the chat, so we will answer them later on. So I am just going to go to the Q&A mode to find some one or two interesting questions, which you can hopefully briefly answer, so we can continue on to the next speaker. So we have one question around Corona, which I think might be interesting to look at. Question from one of our attendees: how did the range of products manufactured in laundry detergents produced change during the epidemic? And are these changes visible, and how long will they last?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, the laundry detergents, we already had hygienical clean, let's say, operations in place. So the only thing that needed to happen was to apply all these things properly. And a major impact from Corona was for the safety of the employees. So if there's no facial masks available, then the advice was to leave the laundry alone for 5 days.
Okay.
But in terms of detergents, I'm not aware of any changes that have been made by the suppliers of detergents.
All right, thank you. And a more general question: do you expect that domestic washing machines will improve, resulting in less environmental differences compared to professional laundering?
Yeah, here is of course a constant development going on. So domestic machines will improve, professional machines will improve. But we expect this because of the scale of the operation and the type of technology that can be put in, that similar results will always be, especially for the next couple of years, will still be realistic.
Right. Thank you very much. And thank you in general for this inspiring presentation. And of course, as Leon mentioned, during Interclean in November, there will be a half-day conference exploring much more of these topics.